Manx Radio Sport.
That's to mine. A very good evening to our listeners on Manx Radio AM 1368 and digital. You join us for the final Saturday Sport Classified of the current season, and it's a slightly different Saturday Sport Classified, as you'll notice in the next couple of minutes. But first of all, we will bring you the footballing results from across the Isle of Man that we have so far today. So here are your classified football results for Saturday the 20th of May. Starting with the friendly. Isle of Man men's team 3, AFC Carnforth 0. In the Canada Life men's Premier League, Corinthians 3, Ayr United 2. Onchan vs St John's awarded as a walkover to St John's. The Paul Henry Gold Cup semi-finals, Braddon 3, Michael United 2. Castletown 1, St Mary's 4. In the DPS Limited Division 2, Foxdale 4, Governors Athletic 1. And the Hospital Cup final, Laxey vs Rushen, is currently ongoing. Those are your classified results so far for Saturday the 20th of May, where we mentioned that the big Hospital Cup final between Laxey and Rushen United is well underway at the Bowl. Kickoff was at 3:30pm, so without further ado, you may notice that Tony Mepham isn't in the studio with me. That's because he's at the Bowl covering this evening's game. Let's bring him in. Tony Mepham, very good evening to you.
Good evening to you, Rob, and certainly the first half, I don't know if you heard, it was pretty dull, but the second half has been quite entertaining. A second goal has just gone in for Laxey, a super ball just outside the halfway line, left hand side to Sammy Gellin. Dean Kearns came out, he thought he was going to meet him and get the ball away from him, but he didn't make it. Sammy Gellin just nipped it to the goalkeeper's left hand side and then finished it off really well with his left peg, and into the net it rolls. So 2-0 to Laxey, but probably the changing point was just on half time. Just to start the second half, 46 minutes it was, when a good ball played through to Charlie Robinson, and he finished it off to give him a lead. And then Rushen within 5 minutes had to change things around because substitute Furrow Davies came on. He went up front. Mikey Williams, who played centre back, he has gone up front as well. And there haven't been really too many opportunities. Furrow Davies had one sort of half effort, but it went wide of the goal. But Laxey got a chance here. Tommy Cowan straight the way through the middle. Sammy Gellin, if he can pull the trigger, just outside the box. But a shot was blocked by second half substitute Ashley Blake and goes into the safe hands of Rushen's goalkeeper, Dean Kearns. As you would expect, Rob, with about 10 minutes or so to go, that Rushen are really pushing everyone forward, leaving spaces at the back, but they've got to go for it because they're trailing 2-0.
Thank you very much, Tony. Well, we're going to have you in a bit of a hybrid role this evening. You're going to have to keep an eye on things there and just take us a little bit through some of the footballing scores we've had on today. So we'll start with chronological order. We'll start with the friendly down at the Bowl Stadium before the Hospital Cup final. The Isle of Man men's national team involved in a friendly in preparation for the 2023 Ireland Games up against AFC Carnforth. 2 goals from Ryan Gartland and a goal from the captain, Matty Woods, saw the men's national team beat AFC Carnforth by 3-0. Tony, your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, it sounded a good game. I listened to your commentary, Rob, and certainly the Isle of Man team were expected to win it, but fair play to AFC Carnforth. They're down here on the far side watching in numbers and been great support, and for some reason he's taken a shine to Furrow Davies, and every time he touches the ball they're looking for him to push on. But AFC Carnforth, they knew it was going to be tough because even though there's few players missing from Blaine's Flattery's probably starting 11 when they go to Guernsey, it just gave them an opportunity to have a look at one or two players who have sort of come in late into the squad and also just change things around a little bit, and that's what June Watney and Carl Gartland did, is just try players at different positions, just find out where they're comfortable. And when you look at it, they haven't had, Rob, too many games to play together, but certainly today it was a chance for them, and they've done it in style. Ryan Gartland's been in excellent form of late. He was good in the Railway Cup final for Corinthians. Unfortunate not to win man of the match, but today 2 goals for him. And then the third goal, I think it was Matthew Woods who got that one, who's the captain. So good result in the end, Rob. Don't know what your thoughts were because you watched the whole game.
Well, having watched the game, it was not just the goals, but also the clean sheet as well. I think particularly early on, looking at Cameron Avery and Phil Kelly looking very assured at the back. Adam Killier didn't have too many shots to deal with throughout the game. Carnforth, to their credit, for large parts of the game, were very resolute, very disciplined at the back. It just took a couple of moments of quality for the Isle of Man men's side to make their way through and get the 3 goals. But also, they dominated possession. And speaking to the assistant coach on the sideline, Juan Watney, who alongside Carl Gartland were managing things in the dugout today with Blaine Slattery not present, talked about the idea of dominating games and how it's important to get into that mindset going into an intense schedule in the Island Games. Is that something you'd agree with?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Rob, because a lot of those players haven't really been involved in an Island Games, and it's going to be sort of, as you say, a lot of football in a short space of time, not much recovery time, so you have to play the squad to try and keep the players as fresh as they can. But you know, when you look at probably players that would have started today, Brodie Patience is down here playing for Laxey. I think he'll start as the number 9, but it just makes them sort of I think get to know each other, because there's a lot of clubs now supplying the Island team, as where before a lot of the squad was made up of Geordie's players. They've now sort of moved on to FC Isle of Man, and it's going to be a great experience for them, and I'm pretty certain Blaine, Dewan and Carl will work hard with them over the coming weeks, because they haven't had any time at all together, have they? We've had such a busy programme towards the end of this season that Blaine hasn't been able to get them together, and unfortunately for him today, he was away on the island. It was off the island, it was already booked, so he'll have to wait a little bit longer, but we'll try and get another friendly before the start of the Island Games, which is the first week in July.
With regards to Blaine Slattery, yes, off Ireland, but he might have a bit of head scratching to do after that game, because Paul and I were talking about on Saturday Live before about this could be an opportunity for players who may be just on the fringes of the starting 11 to showcase their skills, with some of the Ireland players involved in games like the Hospital Cup final you're at today, or in the Canada Life Men's Premier League, for example. So do you think a couple of players, even if you weren't there personally yourself, Tony, may have made a little bit of a name for themselves in a result like that?
Yeah, I would think so. When you look at sort of Ryan Gartland, to me he'd be in my starting lineup. Matthew Woods would be, and he would be my captain. So I think Blaine's got that spot on. If any players, we've been very fortunate, to be fair, Rob, because I think Blaine had 2 or 3 players on standby in case of this busy programme that we've had over the last couple of weeks. Any players picked up any injuries, then he could bring them in quite quick. And I'm looking at one here, Ethan Hawley, for Laxey. He's only 16 years of age, but he's had a quiet game today, but I know he's sort of one of those players that could come in. But you've got bags of experience in there. Robbie Ward, who was on the subs bench today. And when you look at Phil Kelly, Cameron Avery, they've played FC Isle of Man. And it's great to see Chrissy Cannell come back in. And Chrissy's an immense player. Play at left back, he can play at centre back. And up front is where they want sort of the flair, because that's what Blaine likes. He loves a centre forward who sort of takes the game to the defenders. And by the sound of it today, the boys have done quite well, and with 1 or 2 players who, you know, didn't play and expected to be in that starting lineup, as you rightly say, puts them under a little bit of pressure, and I think that's what Blaine would like.
Well, Tony, before we move on to the other results across the day, we'll just go straight back to where you are at the moment, the Hospital Cup final. Just a few more minutes left to play at the moment. Can you tell us what's been happening in the last couple of minutes while we've been chatting?
Yeah, no problem. I've got 40 minutes on the watch here, and as you would expect, Rushen really pushing forward for Davies. Had a good control just in the Laxey's defensive half, but unfortunately for him, again, he's closed down by Laxey's defence. And Tom Cowan, Dave Reynolds, who has switched over, and Joe Walters on that left-hand side, have done a pretty solid job. But there's a bit of a call, as we were talking, Rob, that Glenn Walker pushed Aaron Hawley out of the way, and it should have been a red card. He got booked, and Dave Kelly, the referee, spoke to him for a while, but I don't think there was too much support from either linesman, so maybe the yellow was right, but certainly Rushen were looking to see if they could get a red. But they're really pushing forward. Cameron Dudley, the second half substitute as well, was trying to get it through, but Aaron Hawley just trying to play in Christos Lazidas, and he's got a chance now because Laxey had pushed forward. Lazidas goes in, Aaron Hawley's there, and the shot goes well and truly wide. So it's going to be a goal kick for Laxey, but it's still 2-0, Rob.
Thank you, Tony. So let's take a look back at some of the other results that have been happening today. Then we'll have a look in the Canada Life Men's Premier League. Games kicking off at 2 p.m. I say games. We were due to have 2 games. We did only have one, in fact, because Onchan versus St John's, that was awarded as an away walkover to St John's ahead of the weekend. Well, there was another game taking place at Ballafletcher. Corinthians versus Ayr United. A close encounter. Corinthians just coming out on top, a winning end to their season as both FA Cup and Railway Cup winners. Corinthians beating Ayr United by 3-2, Tony.
Yeah, good result in the end because Ayr United took the lead. I don't know who got the goal, but then an equaliser from Ashton Canson, and then Ayr went 2-1 ahead again, and it was left to Joe Middleton to sort of breathe a little bit of opportunity in it for Corinthians and made it 2-2. And then Steve Whitley was playing today for Corinthians first team, and Whitley it was, and from all accounts a free kick, and Steve Whitley, that's what he does week in, week out, doesn't he, for FC Isle of Man, and he curled one in, went past the goalkeeper to make it 3-2 to Corinthians. And on my reckoning, I think that clinches second spot now for Corinthians, with still one game left in hand, and that's against the Georges at the Bowl next Tuesday. So a good result for Corinthians and a good end to the season after sort of disappointment for losing that league to Peel.
Well, the goal scorers for Ayr United were Cameron Torr and Luke Corlett. Ayr United, champions of course last season, not been in the mix throughout this campaign. They'll be finishing 7th overall, so there haven't been too many changes to this Ayr United squad since last season, so why maybe have they just not been able to hit the heights that they did in the last campaign?
I think there's been a few changes, to be fair, Rob, apart from the end of the season where, you know, Sean Kelly, if you remember him 12 months ago, unbelievable. He won double player of the year, and rightly so. He could have had them himself at the halfway stage of the season, but this year he chose to skip out. Came back in when United had that run in the Hospital Cup in the sort of quarterfinals, and unfortunately for them, they just missed one or two other players as well, and certainly the goalkeeper Nick and everybody else. I think he ended up with about 5 players missing from the championship winning team last year. So Nick Hurt and Rick Holden, I believe, was on the bench the other night. So if Rick and Nick carry on next season, then trying to attract 1 or 2 players in and put a push on again. But last year was superb for them. They were a brilliant team, great players right the way through it. But this year, with 1 or 2 sort of players due to injury and also other commitments, haven't been able to play.
Just quickly before we get back to the football, we've had the first finisher in the 2023 Race the Sun, which has been taking place across the island today. The first through the finish are Robinson's Sunsetters. They've completed it in a time of 10 hours, 43 minutes and 46 seconds, so well done to them. There were 6 other teams through the top of the slot: the Manx Wheelers, the Chip Massacre, Solar Strollers, Rich Energy, Team ESTR and Run with Reed Rockets, so they may be not too far from the finish line themselves. Remember, Race for the Sun is in aid of the Children's Centre and starts at sunrise. Started at the alarming time of 7 minutes past 5 on Peel Promenade this morning, and all the teams taking part aiming to finish before sunset at just past 20 past 9 this evening. A record number of competitors this year, 410 competitors taking part across 41 teams. So Robinson Sunsetters, the first across the finish line in the 2023 Race the Sun. We'll see if other teams are coming through here. So taking a look now at the other footballing results that have been going on today, we'll go to the Paul Henry Gold Cup semi-finals, Tony. Braddon versus Michael and Castletown versus St Mary's. Braddon and Michael. Braddon newly promoted after pipping Michael United to the promotion spot in Division 2. The game between them here, very close indeed, but Braddon on top again this time around. They beat Michael United by 3-2, Tony.
Yeah, this one started off quite well, because it was Michael who took the lead, I think, 1-0, and then Braddon got it right in the second half. And as we touched on at lunchtime, you know, those young players of Braddon, and a couple of them today, or 3 of them, scoring goals. Nick Harvey with 1, Nick Hatton, and also Joe Burrows. Been impressed with him, Rob, when I've watched him play, so we'll look out for him next season in the top flight. Don't know who got Michael second, but I believe someone got sent off for Michael, so that's why I think they conceded those goals towards the end of the game. But great result for Braddon, and just reward, because even though they've got promoted, there's no silverware for that, so they've got a great opportunity a week today in the Paul Henry Gold Cup final here at the Bowl to see if they can take that trophy away from St Mary's. But well done to everyone involved at Braddon once again. Great to see them get promoted on Tuesday, and with the young team that they've got there, it bodes well for the future.
Yes, congratulations to Braddon once again. Michael United, Liam Kane got their second goal in the final 10 minutes of the game, so it turned out to be a consolation, but it set up a bit of a nervy finale for Braddon, even though they were able to hold out the home side. Well, Tony, we've spoken about Michael United a lot this season, about just how positive their upward curve has been this campaign in the fight for promotion. Sadly, from their perspective, it hasn't worked out, but the overriding message seems to be, look how far we've come as a club in the last 12 months. Is that something you agree with?
Definitely, Rob, 100%, because I never had Michael in my top four this season, and I think a lot of it, responsibility, is down to Liam Kane. He's been terrific in front of goal, and I think has possibly won the silver boot. We'll check on that one, but he's been lethal in front of goal, and not just scoring the odd ones or twos. He's been scoring threes and fours, and that takes some doing in any game of football. But no, they'll work on that. It's always a difficult place to go to, Michael, because they've always had good players, but they've been in the top flight before, and they nearly did it this season. So next year, them, Onken, and maybe one or two others, depending on what players they bring in, will be the teams to look out for to get promoted for a long season that's going to be ahead next year, because this season's been that long. Not going to be much of an interval for them, and then we all start again on the first week of September. So yeah, it's been great for Michael.
Well, then we look to the other Paul Henry Gold Cup semi-final down south, Castletown, who were in the promotion fight for much of the season, but just seemed to tail away toward the end of the campaign, up against the eventual Division 2 champions St Mary's today. And St Mary's Division 2 champions, and they've now got themselves into a cup final towards the end of the campaign. They beat Castletown today by 4-1.
He did, and 2 goals for Owen Canepa. Joe Canepa got one, and I'm not too sure who got the 4th goal. I don't know if you've got it, Rob?
It was Frank Jones who got the 4th goal for St Mary's.
Yeah, Frank Jones it was, and great result for them. And the damage was sort of done at the half-time, wasn't it? It was 3-0 to St Mary's, and 30 minutes gone, they were 3-0 up. And it was Owen Canepa who just made safe in that second half, after it was a goal brought back by Castletown's Danny Lane. And Castletown be disappointed, but again, as we've said before, they've got sort of players who can score goals, but defensively they're a little bit too open, and that's what's cost them promotion this season, and cost them in this semi-final as well. So it bodes well for a good final next Saturday, where we'll have the 2 promoted sides, Braddon playing against the champions, St Mary's.
Well, just on the subject of Castletown, we've known of the attacking quality they've got when everything is on song, but in the promotion fight for much of the season, it just couldn't quite keep up the pace toward the end of the campaign. What do Castletown need to do to get back into the fight next season?
Well, I've heard 1 or 2 people say about Castletown that they didn't want to go up this season, but I don't think that's right, because everyone wants to go up, but you know, they're in a great position, I think, Castletown. When you look at them, sort of 2019 it was, just COVID, when we had the whole season expunged. Castletown were under a lot of pressure to sort of keep everything going, and the English FA allowed the Isle of Man FA to let Castletown and Pulrose take voluntary relegation just to rebuild. And I think Gary Sansbury and the team down there have done really well. There's been sort of 1 or 2 occasions. Joel Callow, towards the end of the season, sort of fell out with whatever team selection was going on. So if they can get people like Joel back and others, then I think Castletown could certainly put a push on, because when you look at players up front, we know what they are. Edson De Silva, Danny Lane, you've also got Nathan Cardy and Alex Crawley. They've, they score goals for fun. It's just that defensive thing that they've got to sort out. Furrow Davies, just had a chance there for Rushen with the last 2 or 3 minutes to go. Great effort in by him, cleared by Dave Reynolds. We'll just stay with this if we can, Rob. There's an opportunity
Absolutely.
here, and here we go in with Rushen with a big throw. Scott Mason it was with it, but he's got a chance here to cross it in left-hand side in towards Glenn Walker. He collects it. And I think that was the chance where, if Rushen were going to get back into this, was the one. Good cross in, but Glenn Walker collects. Still 2-0 to Laxey.
2-0 to Laxey in the closing stages here. Well, while we may just have a moment, Tony, there was another game today in DPS Limited Division 2, the final game of that league in particular. Foxdale versus Governors Athletic. Foxdale catching up on their fixtures, of course, and in doing so, they've ended the campaign with a win. They beat Governors Athletic by 4-1 at Billy Goat Park.
Yeah, and strange goal scorer in this one, because I've got Matty Middleton got 2, Kevin Pullman got 1, and Andrew Ball. And when I saw his name, I thought, well, he's a goalkeeper, but Andrew Ball played outfield. It wasn't a worldie of a goal, but it doesn't matter for any goalkeeper to come outfield and play and score takes some doing. So well done to Andy. It was a good goal in the end, it says here, and Foxdale finish off this game here with a 4-1 win, and well done to them.
And of course, there's only one more game to be decided today, which is where you are right now. Laxey currently leading Rushen United 2-0 in the Hospital Cup final, the dying stages of this game. So, Tony, bring us back to the action on the pitch at the Bowl.
Certainly will, and we've got a stoppage at the moment, and George Burrows, who a bit of cramp I think, but Dave Kelly has wave play on, so Dean Kearns it's going to be, and there's not a Russian player in their half, as you would expect. They're all up front for this big long kick from Dean Kearns, and it's long, it's straight in towards the penalty spot. Furu Davies gets his head to it, and it was Jack Gilbert who headed it, and it's gone wide of the goal of Glenn Walker. Well, let's just have a little look how the game went in that first half, Rob, because there wasn't too many opportunities, and it was Brodie Patience probably had the best chance for Laxey. Good shot in, Kearns saved it, and then a second chance he had, and Kearns was equal to that one as well. But probably there you go. There's the final whistle, and if you want me to, Rob, I'll go pitch side, see if I can get a hold of the winning manager in Johnny Palmer, and we'll let the handshakes take place first, and the two managers embrace. And Nick Robinson disappointed with the result, but his team played the part, and we'll have a little word with Johnny. Congratulations, Johnny. You're looking a little bit nervous there, but 2-0, but 2 good goals.
Yeah. Balance of play, I think we deserved that. We were really good today. First half was a bit iffy. Second half, we've come out flying. We've done everything that we've asked of them in the half-time team talk. They come out, score an early goal, hang on a bit, get the second goal, and then we're on easy street. We've played the last 6 or 7 weeks. We've been absolutely tremendous. I mean, I can't. If the season had started 12 weeks ago, we'd be bang there. But season started too long ago for us. But these lads deserve this day in the sun.
What about the first 45 minutes? Because both defences were solid, and they played 2 attacking players in Mikey Williams and Steve Ryden at the back to nullify your forward, and it seemed to work.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, but that was because we were poor. No disrespect to Mikey. Mikey's not a centre back. We need to be on him, making him look like a centre forward playing centre back. But we didn't do that. We didn't put enough into the first half to deserve what we got now. Come on! But second half, as you can hear, we deserved exactly what we got.
And what about that save at the end of the first half by Glenn Walker with his feet? That was tremendous.
Yeah. I thought, Glenn's been missing the last couple of weeks, but he's put a shift in. I'm happy.
How far can this team go? Because you're quite confident now, aren't you?
Yeah, we'll break up again. It's a rebuild again. We're losing too many players once again, but we'll roll. We'll keep the nucleus, and we'll fit around. And we're going poaching now, like everybody else does.
Nice one, Johnny. Johnny, go and join the party. We'll watch this presentation, because the trophy here, the Hospital Cup trophy, is absolutely magnificent. And when you look at last week, we had Peel and Corinthians. Corinthians won that one. This is the second biggest trophy in Manx football, in my view. I know we've got the Cannon Life Premier League, and we've also got the FA Cup, but in stature, in size-wise, and just looking at it, what an imposing picture it is on that trophy table. And it's going to be, the presentation is going to take place now. So the officials will come up, and we'll have a chat with Nick Robinson as well, the Russian manager, but we'll let the presentation take place. And the officials, we've actually got Paul Hodgkinson, who's a championship linesman from the UK, who's come over and done the line on this one, and nice to have people of that experience. And it is the referees' dinner tonight, and there'll be speeches all around on that one. So Stevie Riding, the captain of Rushen, goes up and collects his medal. He's got plenty in the trophy. Adam Cool, who played in the Cal Cup final on Wednesday, second one in the bag for him, and it's going to be a long weekend also for Aaron Hawley, because he's down to play in the Masters FA Cup final tomorrow afternoon. But Joe Reid goes up for his, and he can be proud of his display because he nearly scored. He had an opportunity in that first half, and Ashley Blake as well was solid when they changed things around, pushing Mikey Williams up, and also Furu Davies when he came off the bench. Scott Mason won man of the match on Wednesday in the Cal Cup, gets his, and Adam Kinley as well gets his medal. And they might just do the man of the, or the officials are coming up, and then the man of the match. And the officials, David Kelly wasn't really troubled, had a little bit of a call towards the end when Dean Kearns came out. It looked as if he slipped, to be fair, but he booked him, so we saw something. And Paul Hodgkinson gets his medal, and Jack Malin and Neshko Marinov receives his. And now, man of the match. We'll listen to this one, hopefully you get this. Brody Patience gets the man of the match, and we'll make our way a little bit in towards the Laxey team, because they will go absolutely mental when they pick up this trophy. And a lot of good young players in there. 7 of these players under 18 years of age today, and just shows what sort of season they could be having next year. And up they go, Laxey for the medals, and Tommy Cowan gets his. And Glenn Walker, who had a little bit of a discussion with the referee, thought he was going to get sent off. Ethan Hawley, 16 years of age, had a tremendous season. George Burrows as well gets his medal. Charlie Robinson, who scored that goal on 46 minutes to give Laxey the lead. David Reynolds as well, another one whose trophy cabinet's quite full. Joe Walters did a good job playing in an unorthodox position for him at left back. Sammy Gellan, who scored that second goal. And Brody Patience, the man of the match, gets his medal for winning the Hospital Cup. And it'll be Tommy who's going to put this up. Tommy Cowan, presented by the chairman of the board at the FA, Stevie Carter. Here you go. Well done to Laxey. They deserved it. We'll see if we can. Yeah, we can. There's Nick. We'll see if we can get a hold of Nick Robinson. Nick, if you would. I know it's hard. What went wrong? It was a difficult first 45 minutes, wasn't it? But the second half, you went for it after that goal went in.
Yeah, I think with the we sort of came into it a little bit more at the end of the first half. We were confident, I think, at half time. But I think, to be fair, the Laxey at the end of the day, they had more energy. They ran the ball, they passed the ball a bit better than we did, and I think that they deserved to win it. Hard as though it is for me to say, but I think Laxey did deserve it. We just ran out of energy. We started bumping the ball long. We didn't play the football that I wanted to see us play, but that's life. That's a final.
Still been a good season though, Nick, for you at Rushen. You've been close to all the competitions really. I know the league was a little bit out of it, but when you look at the kids coming through as well, and Christos Lazidos, you've got a goal scorer in there.
Yeah, unfortunately Christo goes to uni next year. So, but no, I think as a club, we've done well with the Junior Cup. We've got the Junior Cup, haven't we? We've done well with the juniors. We've got 2 under-14 finals. We've got the Junior Cup next week. We won the Cal Cup. As a club, we're moving forward, and that's what's important. Days like this, the players will take away from this. They'll take away the disappointment, and they won't hopefully let that happen again.
Thought it was going to come back to you actually, because you acted quickly when the goal went in, because you put Mikey Williams out at the back, put him up front. You brought Furo Davies on. I thought this is going to be lethal, but Laxey's defence stood firm.
I think the defence stood firm, but I think their midfield in particular impressed me. The way they were passing the ball, I think that undid us, and we ended up. I think we were chasing a little bit too much. We had to make positive changes. We've got that kind of ability and talent on they've got to come on, but just wasn't to be. Sometimes that happens. That's football.
You got a smile on your face. That's the main thing, Nick. Enjoy your night and congratulations for getting to the final and your season.
I'm pleased for Johnny. Johnny's done a lot of effort at Laxey, so I'm really chuffed for him in particular. So we'll have a good night, whatever.
Enjoy yourself.
Thanks,
well done, Nick. So Laxey have got their trophy, Rob. You can have a little sort of view of it yourself if you want, and then if you've got time, I can maybe dip in and have a word with man of the match, Brodie Patience.
Well, just before you get the chance to chat with Brodie, just a couple of things, Tony. Let's start with Laxey then, the winners of the 2023 Hospital Cup, beating Rushen United by 2-0. Just listening to some of the manager, Johnny Palmer's comments there, that it might be a bit of a rebuild once again in the summer and going into next season. But do you think Laxey have already got themselves a bit of a track record with some of those younger players, someone like Ethan Hawley, just to name one, coming through the ranks already? Do you feel Laxey are in a good position to adapt if they have to for next season?
Definitely, there's just something going on at Laxey at the moment, what I mean in a nice way, because Laxey have got one of the best setups in Manx football, and what's happened is there's so many good players who've come through the system and then left them at the sort of 16, 17 years of age and gone on to other clubs. I don't feel that's going to happen at the moment, and I just think that they've got a chance, and while we've got them here, we might as well. Brodie Patience, we're live. So keep it clean, but Rob's just asked the question that, you know, there's a lot of good young players here for Laxey at the moment, but I think, Brodie, that I think this team's going to stick together, but normally it's broken up, because you've been here before, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like an old man. I'm our third oldest player now, so getting near the end, retiring soon, but we've got plenty of young lads, all want to stick together. Most of them have come up through the club. So yeah, here to stay, hopefully be big next year.
It's quite interesting as well, because there's, I think, 6 or 7 under 18 players today, and one that's sort of taken my eye this season is Ethan Hawley. Absolutely superb player. I think he only turned 16, what was it? In November.
Yeah, lovely lad, works his absolute socks off, and he's lightning, so gives me a break, so I don't have to do some running. I can just ping it in behind to him, and fastest man alive.
What about the second half then? Because you had a couple of good chances. Charlie sort of settled the nerves a little bit with that first goal, but then Sammy Gellan, who's been a tremendous player for you this season, I thought that was a great finish for his second goal.
Yeah, I mean, we all thought first half wasn't really good enough, so came out flying, got the goal, and then I think that settled us down a bit. And later on in the game, the more they're pushing, the more Sammy can get in behind, because he's lightning quick as well, so worked into our hands getting the early goal, I think.
Now that's your last game, but you've got to start concentrating now, because Ireland games, here we come. You're going to go, and unfortunately you couldn't play this morning for the Ireland setup, but looking forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely buzzing for it, but going to enjoy tonight with Laxey and then worry about that tomorrow.
Definitely. Cheers, Tony. No problem. All the best, Brodie, and we wish you well in Guernsey. So there's Brodie Patience, Rob, and happy boy, and as you would expect, there's not many Laxey players moving away from this pitch, and all the family members are moving in with that trophy to get pictures, and there must be about 150 people here still on this pitch. What's been an absolutely tremendous season, I think, right the way through. The trophies have been shared, so it's all good for Manx football, and everyone will be looking now to see what will happen for 23-24 season, because we're on the change. We've said that between the two of us, with FC Isle of Man taking players out, and sort of all the young players being given the opportunity to play now. Manx football's getting younger with teams like this winning silverware.
Well, just turning to Rushen United there, just hearing from Nick Robinson there, and you mentioned you saw it in front of you, he did have a bit of a smile on his face despite the disappointment. Just missed out today, as you mentioned, not in contention this season for the league side of things, but when you hear about some of the achievements that club has come up with this season, I mean, the combination, one team winning every single game of the season to win the league title, Cal Cup winners in midweek, and they've taken a couple of honours in the junior section as well. So even though it might feel a little bit raw this evening and they may be disappointed with the Premier League campaign, the future is very much, at least on paper, strong for Rushen United.
Well, it is, because it's moving into the unknown, isn't it? Because Rushen, you've got Furo Davies, you've got Mikey Williams, who are playing for FC Isle of Man, so they've lost two big players there. But when you look at people who've developed this season, it was a good signing. Jack Gilbert from Maloo, he's come in and did a good job today in that left full-back spot. But bring back Adam Cool. There's a name that you'll remember. He's gone away to university, I think it's UK, but he was FC Alaman's right fullback. So to have a player like him to come back into the system just helped them. But the pace of Joe Reid, you've got Christos Lazidos, who's been superb in front of goal of late. Then you could just see that with Rushen as well. There's a change of personnel. More older players, Chrissy Shimmons now starting to sort of go into the combination. Stevie Riding, who was in the Ireland team, is sort of not being around as much for Rushen. So it's allowing these young players to have the opportunity to come in. And, when you look at sort of the bench for Rushen today, you can just see there's one player there who I've watched a couple of times this season, Ed Canna. He's quick, and he can only get better as well because he's only a young player. So I think both teams can look at this as a stepping stone to move on next year and try and sort of knock, if you like, Corinthians and Peel off the perch and see if they can compete at the top of the table for that league trophy.
Well, Tony, we'll come back to you in just a few seconds so we can round a few more things up. But just in the last 20 minutes, two more teams through the finish line on the Race the Sun 2023. The Manx Wheelers slotting into second place as it stands on 12 hours, 12 minutes and 30 seconds. Robinson Suntesters were the first through in 10 hours, 43 minutes and 46 seconds, so a bit of a gap there. But there's a third team through now, the Chip Massacre as well. They slot into third behind the Manx Wheelers in a time of 12 hours, 28 minutes and 45 seconds. So three through the finish line as it stands on the 2023 Race the Sun. Well, Tony, just a couple more questions. I know it's been a very long day for you, especially down at the bowl there with all that's been going on. So just having a look ahead now, we do have two more games to come in this season. We have the Junior Cup in midweek on this coming Wednesday, and of course the Paul Henry Gold Cup final, Braddon versus St Mary's, rounding off the season next Saturday, the 27th of May. That Paul Henry Gold Cup final, what are your immediate thoughts on how that could play out?
Well, I think sort of Braddon want some silverware, don't they, because they've got promoted, so they can look forward to that next year. But St Mary's, the story that has unfolded in this last 12 months has been nothing short of incredible, because I know we were in discussion, the Alaman FA, sort of July, August, just to see if we could get St Mary's back in the league. The enthusiasm was there from the ex-committee members, if you like, and one or two sort of players just grasped at it. Alex Harrison and Frank Jones came in, and the players start to drift back. I know there was a few clubs, Rob, that sort of complained that they were taking players away from other clubs, but those players have played for St Mary's and left and gone to their club. So I think it's the players' right to, go back. If St Mary's didn't have a team to enter, then they can't go and play for them. And when you look at them winning Division 2, they've won the Woods Cup, and now they're sort of going to play in the Paul Henry Gold Cup final and could win the treble, then that's marvellous. And the combination haven't let them down as well. They won the league. Unfortunately, didn't have the run in the Junior Cup they wanted. But that's a great achievement to get the club bounced back into Manx football. And you just need to get a few junior players set up and try and get them players to filter through into their team, and they'll be a formidable team that they were 2018-19 when they won the league, and then I think it was 19-20 when the season was expunged. They probably would have won it then, and then the following year it all just felt it for them. But they're back on track, and they're a team to look out for next year if they attract any players.
Well, Tony, my final question to you. I'm not going to ask you to, right now, on the spot, unpack the whole of everything that has gone on this season. I think we'd need a show that is another 2 or 3 hours long for that one. But now that we're coming to the end of the campaign, it's been a long campaign, some nervy moments at times within the FA to try and get things on. We saw the big disruption due to weather and other matters throughout the season here. But what do you think it says for everyone involved in Manx football, whether it's the clubs, whether it's the staff, whether it's the FA itself, that you've been able to get this run of fixtures into these last couple of weeks to make sure the season can conclude next week? How big an effort has it been?
It's been massive, Rob. I've done the fixtures now for over 30 years, and this has been tough towards the end, and a few challenges from people and clubs, and you can't do anything about it, Rob, if you've got teams that are going for all the silverware, like Rushen were, Junior Cup, they were going for the Combi 1, they were going for the Hospital Cup as well, the FA Cup. It was really tough going. I think a few people have got to take a rain check towards the end of the season, and I think the main reason for me is the worry of the dissent now coming into referees. I know referees have the cards in their pockets to deal with it, but I think players have got to change their attitude. The way it is, Rob, it's grassroots football, so you've just got to sort of get on with it. But now I just see too many sort of challenges to the referee's decision, wrong challenges, and it's just possibly going to drive some of the referees away, and we don't want that to happen. So I think it's a sit down, rethink it through, players, club, FA and everything, and make 23-24 season a change of season for the better, not for the worse, because I think somewhere along the way towards the end of the season we've lost that control towards the match officials, and it's evident because there's 2 or 3 sort of not big cases coming through, but players getting lengthy bans because of the way they've handled themselves during the game.
Well, Tony, this is the final Saturday Sport Classified of this current season. We will, of course, be back in the not too distant future. So can I just say to you, Tony, as our Manx Radio football correspondent, what a pleasure it's been to have you on board once again this season. You're back time and time again to bring us the Manx football here on Manx Radio, and it is always appreciated.
Yeah, I try my best there, Rob. It takes a lot of time, and I've really, learnt a lot from yourself, to be honest with you, covering the FC Isle of Man games, because it's an absolute credit to FC Isle of Man and Manx football what's gone on. But your coverage and hopefully my little part I play in it brings it to people. And I know, speaking to quite a few people throughout the season, it's just great where the older people can't go to the games, but they sit at home and listen to the commentary and get a feel of the game. And that's all down to Manx Radio. So a big thank you to you and to Manx Radio for letting us have the airtime for a great sport like football.
Well, now, once we get through the next week, you can rest over TT before the whole Manx football circus rolls around again in a few months. So for the final time on Saturday Sport Classified this season, Tony Mepham, very good evening to you.
Top man, Rob.
Tony Mepham there with the report from the Hospital Cup final. Laxey, the winners here in 2023 by 2-0. We're just about starting to wrap things up here on Saturday Sport Classified, but just to bring you some news you may have heard earlier today as well. We've already given you an update on Race the Sun 2023, which is ongoing. 3 teams through the finish line as it stands at the moment. And of those 3, Robinson's Sunsetters are the pace setters at the top. 10 hours, 43 minutes and 46 seconds. And then in second, it is the Manx Wheelers, who have completed it in a time of 12 hours, 12 minutes and 30 seconds. And then slotting in behind them, the Chip Massacre in third, 12 hours, 28 minutes and 45 seconds. There are 6 teams that have made it through the top of the slot in the stage before that still to come. We have the Solar Strollers in 4th, Rich Energy in 5th, Team ESTR in 6th, Run with Reed Rockets in 7th, in 8th, the Flutterflying Fellas, and in 9th, Hardly Athletic as well. So we'll have to wait and see with those results coming through. We've also had hockey games taking place off the island as well today. The Isle of Man men's national team have been competing in Division A of the England Hockey County Championships today. 3 games for them today. The first of those was at 12 o'clock against the host county for this particular competition, Nottinghamshire. The Isle of Man narrowly beaten by Nottinghamshire by 2-1. The Isle of Man scorer Tom Lothian. Also a notable mention for the Isle of Man's man of the match to goalkeeper Dave Whiting, who managed to in some way deny 2 penalty strokes from Nottinghamshire to keep Isle of Man squad in the game. Well, despite that disappointing result, just 2 hours or so later, the Isle of Man bounced back in style with their game at 2 o'clock against Derbyshire. The Isle of Man running out 3-0 winners against Derbyshire. The goal scorers, the captain, Jamie Brown, and then Alex Freer and Alex Bell. They do have another game which should have just finished about now that's pushed back at 4 o'clock against Warwickshire. They are in Pool 1 of the 2 pools in this county championship, so once they have the result from that game and all the other results have been completed, the Isle of Man men's hockey team will find out who they will be playing on Sunday as part of the county championships. And in athletics as well, there's been some great news as well for long-distance runner Sarah Webster this morning while she was competing out in Eastern Europe. She was competing in the 50-kilometre Romanian Championships in Timisoara and went on to win the event in an absolutely barnstorming time of 3 hours, 20 minutes and 21 seconds. It's the fastest time by a UK athlete over that particular distance since 2021, and the time is also within the qualifying standard for the Great Britain team for the World 50-kilometre Championships in India in November. That doesn't guarantee Sarah a place within that team at this stage, but it certainly meets the qualifying criteria. So great work from Sarah Webster there. And just a reminder, there is one more piece of football taking place tomorrow as well, and it's another piece of silverware up for grabs. 2:45 p.m. at the Bowl. It is the Masters FA Cup final. Colby versus Oncombe. Postponed from a few weeks ago. It'll finally be taking place. And then, as we've mentioned previously, over the next 7 days, there will be 2 more games after the Masters FA Cup final tomorrow to round off the season. We have the Ascot Hotel Junior Cup final taking place on Wednesday before the Paul Henry Gold Cup final rounds everything off on Saturday the 27th of May. Kick-off time to be confirmed, and it's the top 2 in Division 2 to fight that out. Braddon versus St Mary's. And as I speak, we have a 4th through the finish line on 2023 Race the Sun, and it is Solar Strollers. They slot into 4th at the finish line in a time of 12 hours, 39 minutes and 48 seconds. So to all the teams that have finished and all those still taking part, best of luck in the remainder of tonight's event, all of them having to finish before the sun sets just after 9:20 this evening. Well, that brings to an end the final Saturday Sport Classified of the 22-23 season. Thank you so much for joining us each week for our roundup of the football, rugby, hockey and much more besides. It really does mean the absolute world to us, and we will be back in the not too distant future once the regular season rolls around again. So without further ado, we will now hand back over to Christy DeHaven over on our FM frequency here at Broadcasting House. Thank you so much for joining us again this week and throughout the entire season. So from myself and everyone associated with Saturday Sport Classified this season, it is a big thank you from us. Have a wonderful evening and a wonderful weekend. Thank you very much, and we'll see you again soon. Good night.
Manx Radio Sport.